So today we're going to change rear pads and discs on the back of a 2006 Toyota Corolla. This side don't look too bad disc wise, but the other side have gone metal to metal. First things first, crack off all 5 wheel nuts with 21mm socket, just enough to break them off, and then we will jack up the car. So after breaking off the wheels, we've put a piece of wood under the front tyre so we're not going to roll backwards. So under the car, the bits, these 2 bits here, we try and get the jack in the middle of them. It's hard to see as you're doing it. Trying to use one hand to film and one hand to jack doesn't work well. But as you can see, we're aiming for them 2 holes under that. And now that's lifting the vehicle. What we'll do is lift enough so we can spin the wheel. Now we've got the wheel off the floor and it can rotate, we need to take the wheel nuts off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we need to change back to 19. Never break them off with a gun. Always use a bar to break them off. So the bonus of this car having inboard shoes is we don't need a tool to push the caliper back. We can literally put a screwdriver in that gap there and push it back. And then these 2 bolts at the top, which are pre-cleaned so you can see, 13mm bolts, we'll get them off. As you can see, screwdriver in the hole there and just pull it back. I'm not worried about causing damage to the disc at this point because we are replacing the disc. Just nice and steady. The slow pressure gives the brake fluid a chance to go back up the pipe. And as you can see, nice and loose. So now we'll break this 13mm and this 13mm off. So you can see calipers off. Brake pads. I've seen worse, but not the best. The piston for the caliper is still out a bit, but what we'll do, we'll get a big pair of grips and we'll squeeze that back together and we'll push that right back so it sits properly. So the pads will fit into the carrier. Next job is getting this bolt and this bolt out, and then we can completely remove the carrier so we can get the brake disc off. So another trick, well, I say another trick, the first trick, this bolt down here, it's stuck, it won't move. Can't get enough leverage on it because as you can see that's behind there, so we can't add anything to that. So what we'll do, put a screwdriver over the top, pull it tight. I've used a 16mm spanner and that'll give us some leverage to be able to pull a bit more on that bolt, and hopefully it works. So it didn't work with the ratchet and the spanner, so we're going for 2 spanners again, 14mm and a 16mm. The ratchet just jumps off, so it's about keeping the correct angle, because if you angle it too far over it'll just slip off. But we'll give it another go. As you can see from that, she's free. So now take these 2 bolts out and we can remove the carrier. As you can see now the carrier's out. I've left the brake pads in there, I'll knock them out in a minute. The brakes we brought don't come with new fitting kits, so we'll pull these brake pads out and we'll give the sliders a very good clean. Another tip, while the caliper's off, just make sure these slide pins have movement, nice and free, because sometimes people think it's the caliper that's broke, and it's not. It's just these slide pins aren't free and stuck. So that's after brake pads out. Give them a bit of a clean. We'll put some copper grease on the new pads to help with movement. There we go. Next, take the disc off. So because it's inboard shoes, this here is where you would adjust your inboard shoes. So we need to take that out, take this rubber bung out, and release some pressure on the handbrake. The handbrake is off, but sometimes there's a lip on the inside here where you can't just slide it off, and you have to rewind the inboard shoes to be able to pull it off. But we'll see what happens. So as a little trick, they wouldn't come off. You've got a hole here and a hole here. So all we do is find a bolt with the same thread as the hole, because they've both got thread in, and we'll slowly work it in. You could gut it in, but just slowly, and you can see it pushing it off. And then we'll take that back out. It does pop off, but I missed recording it. So now we're going to take that one back out. And we're going to put it in this hole. I'll try and record it on the other side. That'll push against the hub, and that will push the brakes off. So you can see, drums off, inboard shoes. There's a little bit of life in them. I'm not too worried because they're just used for the handbrake. So the handbrake cable comes in the back, goes here and pulls, and they go against the inside of the disc, which is here. And there's not actually a massive lip. These discs aren't actually that bad. That is there because I've hit it with a hammer and here, but in general they're not that bad. But we changed them because the other side has gone metal to metal. So slide wheel caliper, hopefully neither. So that's the new disc on this side. Through this hole now we need there's a little metal wheel in. So what I like to do personally is do the wheel to as tight as we can so we can't move the disc at all. So that means the handbrake's fully engaged. The handbrake is off in the car, so we want that not to be able to move after we've adjusted it, and then we'll just go a couple of clicks off, 2 or 3 maybe, and see how it feels. You should theoretically feel it like grinding a little bit inside, grabbing, but not much. New shoes, not new shoes, new discs. It's moving. Obviously these are meant to be grub screws as well, I think, but there wasn't any in there, so the wheel will hold that on when we tighten the wheel up. But yeah, it's all adjusted up. So that's the carrier back on with the new brake pads in. Yes, I've gone Drive Tech, it's my car. I'd never put these on a customer's car. But I paid £500 for the car, so I'm not going to spend loads of money on parts. So they're back in, 14mm, 2 bolts, doing everything back in reverse now. Next, push the piston the rest of the way back in, pull the wheel on. That's now the caliper back on, same as taking it off. 2 13mm bolts, piston pushed all the way back. Give it a little bit of a wire brush, only a little bit, just to clean it up around the bleed nipple, just in case, saves it rusting completely. But yeah, now just put the wheel back on and we're done on to the other side. So I'm not going to bore you doing the whole same thing again. 13mm get caliper, 14mm carrier bolt, but the reason we're changing that, metal to metal, and as you can see, nothing left on the pads. Always do it in pairs. So that's the second side done. Quick recap. 14mm, no, 13mm, 14mm, 21mm to get the bolts off, flathead screwdriver to adjust the handbrake, and you should all be good.